Why, thank you, Clayton. Well, lawmakers are working to get to the bottom of the IRS scandal. Our next guest knows firsthand what it was like to be targeted. He says his own conservative organization was given the runaround for quite a while by the agency until he made a very distinctive change. Conservative activist Drew Ryun is with us from Dallas this morning to explain. Drew, thanks for joining us. This is an amazing story. So to sum up, my understanding is you put an application for a group called Media Trackers, which was going to do reporting. It was a conservative group, and the IRS knew it was conservative, and they gave you the runaround. What happened next?
That's correct, Tucker. In fact, we had applied for nonprofit status for Media Trackers in July of 2011. And the whole idea behind Media Trackers is we're an investigative, nonpartisan research outfit. We go in, we call balls and strikes on both sides of the aisle. But after a year of going through this process, in fact, we were proactive. We went to the IRS and said, hey, you have now had our application for 8 months. We've heard nothing from you. Any questions that you need answered? And oddly enough, our application went through the Cincinnati IRS office. And our case agent was a guy named Steven Siak, who's appeared in the news as one of these rogue IRS agents. We realized after about a year, in fact, we were hitting about a year and a half, we realized, you know what, Media Trackers is probably never going to receive nonprofit status, even though we operate as a nonpartisan outfit. What we did is we had the opportunity to take over a nonprofit called Greenhouse Solutions that was ending its determination period, which every nonprofit goes through. You get initial status, and then 5 years later you can apply for permanent status. We made the decision to go back to the IRS with Greenhouse Solutions and say we would like to apply for permanent status for Greenhouse Solutions. And I told my team at that time, in fact, Sean Davis, who you know, I said, you know what, Sean, I'll bet you with a name like Greenhouse Solutions, we will get a quick response from this IRS office. And you know what? Within 3 weeks, Greenhouse Solutions received permanent nonprofit status. Now, I will say two things. One, Greenhouse Solutions had been a nonprofit. It had received C3 status. But with a name like Greenhouse Solutions, I told Sean, I was like, look, somebody's going to look at this. A case agent's going to look at this and say, Greenhouse Solutions, these guys are not conservative, and they're going to rubber stamp us. What we did at that point, Tucker, is we simply rolled Media Trackers into Greenhouse Solutions and made it a project of. So Media Trackers as a project still exists, but it is now a subsidiary of Greenhouse Solutions.
That's unbelievable. Why didn't you go with, Barack Obama is God.com or the Leon Trotsky Society? I mean, that's so good.
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. We've had some friends actually bring that up. It was one of those things where it had actually been the name Greenhouse Solutions for 3 or 4 years. So it was not anything that we just decided to change the name at the last minute. I just was aware of the fact that Greenhouse Solutions is not exactly a conservative name, and
no,
it is
not.
worth for us.
And here I'm laughing at the perversity of it all, but this is your federal government that you and I and all the rest of us pay for. And the idea that they would be discriminating on that basis, that they would be trying to crush dissent, is outrageous. Did you complain about this to anyone? I mean, clearly you knew. You basically had evidence that there was bias going on. Did you tell anyone?
Not only did we know that there was evidence that there was bias, but yes, we continued to go back to the IRS and say, what is the holdup? In the process of going back to the IRS, and even recently as this become even more of a story, we have gone back and started looking at our Google Analytics on the Media Tracker sites. And we're beginning to find some interesting things, not just the IRS visiting our sites, but we've actually had some unique visitors around the time when we were still under review, when Media Trackers was still under review for nonprofit status, from EOP.gov. And for the viewers, EOP is Executive Office of the President. I tell you what, to have the government potentially at all levels looking over the shoulder of various conservative outfits and stymieing them and attempting to block them and attempting to quiet them, I think is disconcerting.
Well, and especially in the middle of a presidential campaign. It's an outrage, and that's why it's a scandal, but you seem to have outsmarted the IRS. Congratulations, Drew Ryun. Great to see you this morning.
I appreciate that, Tucker.
Thanks. Well, more